Over the last few decades, there have been growing concerns about the depletion of the world's forests. In Africa, the vagaries of weather conditions, erratic rainfall, deforestation, and global warming are the bane of the ecosphere's fauna and flora. Ghana continues to receive troubling shocks and unpalatable reports regarding plant species. The activities of humans, such as mining, lumbering, charcoal production, and bush burning have resulted in a sharp decline of most of the world's coveted species, including the critically endangered and endemic species. Talbotiella gentii is a tree species only found in Ghana. Serious but modest attempts are ongoing aimed at creating a resilient environment.
Talbotiella is critically endangered. It is also restricted to Ghana. It is within certain areas. And for us as a conservation organization, we want to see to it that all these species are conserved for posterity.
Historically, Talbotiella used to grow from Agogo and stretch all the way through Abitifi to Akosomo and continue to Enumboso. But we have lost the gap between Akosomo and Agogo. All the population there are extinct. They've been removed. What we have existing now is isolated patches around Bandai Hills and then isolated patches around Akosomo, Saposu, and then we have another isolated patches around Agena. Same way, we also have isolated patches at Enumboso. So these are growing, but they are not expanding. They keep reducing in size. So we decided to investigate to know why they are growing in isolated patches, and also to educate the people on the use or the importance of these species and the need to conserve them.
For this area in particular, the Talbotiella is one of the globally significant biodiversity species. It is endemic to Ghana. It is also critically endangered. And that means that if we don't do anything about them, within the next 10 years, they'll be eliminated on the surface of the earth. So Talbotiella occurring in these reserves make those areas what we call the globally scanned biodiversity areas, because the species are of global concern. And that is a concept that started since 1995, and we identified about 29 of areas in Ghana, and therefore they are being given that global attention.
This project started in 2019. We started by conducting an inventory to determine the population of the Talbotiella gentii within this landscape. We also realized that 15 out of the 28 previously known natural stands did not record any Talbotiella.
Currently one of the endemic and endangered plant species of immeasurable worth, Talbotiella gentii has received critical attention. Ongoing attempts are being done to restore degraded forest areas and ensuring that anthropogenic activities that endanger the plant species are mitigated to ensure the lifespan of the plants are sustained. The natural range of the species have been extensively destroyed by wildfires, incursions by people, and subsequent exploitation of forested areas, resulting in reduced populations and increased fragmentation above natural levels. Currently, 15 out of the 28 known stands now extinct, with the major threat being farming and charcoal production. Recent research suggests that there may be potential inbreeding within the remaining stands due to low genetic variation. The project creates the scope to address these pressing challenges to reduce the rates of extinction of Talbotiella gentii in Ghana.
So this project has three main core objectives. The first objective is to ensure a better scientific understanding about the species and its distribution within the Upper Guinea forest. The second one is to increase the population of the species and thereby improving on the status of the species. And then the third one is to reduce the risks and the threats to the sustenance of the species.
Basically, the first thing is to identify where the parent species are or parent trees are. So after identification, we go and collect the seeds, and mostly the seeds are already out of the pot. So and the lifespan is very short. So when we come, we do nurse them in this nursery site. Then within 2-3 weeks, most of them germinate, and then we water them for some time before we pick them to the planting sites. Because it's an in situ germination project, we make sure that we send them to where the parent populations are. But we were also interested in different genetic mix-up. So if we collect a seed from Bandai, then we send it to a different site to ensure that we get a mixture of the different genes from the different locations. So after transportation, we allow the seedlings to settle for 2-3 days just to acclimatize themselves at the new site that they'll be transplanted. Then within 1 week, the seedlings are transplanted. And this is done in collaboration with the local communities and the farmers in these areas. And after transplanting, they are monitored. Sometimes we have higher survival rates, around 80 to 90%. In other localities too, we have around 70% of them surviving. So when they are transplanted, they are watered, they are cultured, they are taken care of mostly by the local community and the farmers. And our role is to go in maybe once in a month to monitor how they are growing and measure some parameters, how much shoot have they grown and how much they are growing, just to help us to monitor them.
The seedlings that were raised were transplanted to restore the degraded sections of the forest. Some of the methods that we used was the modified Tunja system, where we engaged farmers in the agroforest landscape to also ensure that they also integrate the Talbotiella in farmland areas. Then lastly, we also constructed fire belts to ensure that the areas that we had planted will not be ravaged by fires. This was done through training, awareness, and education of the farmers and volunteers within the area.
We've done more than 34 hectares of degraded areas restored with the Talbotiella and mixed with other species that will help the Talbotiella grow. We have also worked with the local communities to educate them to understand the importance of the re-establishment of these species, and then to help them to have them in the agroforestry systems so that they can also establish them in the off-reserve.
This project has encountered two main challenges. The first one is the issues of wildfires through people who set fires to burn grass for cattle grazing, and then during slash and burn agriculture, the off-spill of fires during slash and burn agriculture. And then secondly, we also had issues with farmers in the Tunja plots who spray our seedlings with their weedicides that stunted the growth and sometimes even kill the seedlings.
Talbotiella is very important in terms of how they grow. They are able to grow at where other trees might not survive. They are very good at growing at rocky environments. Rocky areas, other trees without deep tap rooting system cannot survive there. Talbotiella can survive.
Interestingly, what's the natural stands we have around? They happen to be around the hilly portion, rocky. So the perception is that they thrive well there. But we are trying to, experiment others, because what we have planted so far, it's like it's not in the rocky environment, but then at a shady place where we have plantain trees, those ones are doing very well because we have different sites. But this particular site is the one which is really very good because it's under the plantain plants.
35,000 seedlings of Talbotiella gentii and 10,000 seedlings of associated species, including 3,000 seedlings of Ceiba pentandra, 3,000 seedlings of Terminalia superba, and 4,000 seedlings of Kaya ivorensis were raised and transplanted over a total of 70 hectares.
We do not want this species to be lost, but to be conserved. And so we are counting on all our partners like the Forestry Commission, the local communities, to partner with us to ensure that this is conserved. That is our mission. And to ensure that the traditional uses for the charcoal and all that is not lost in the system, but they can continue to have those benefits. So for us, we now want to see the Talbotiella restored in those areas where it has been depleted, and go beyond to see it integrated into farming systems where the local communities can continue to have the traditional use for the charcoal and for whatever they used to use it for. We don't want that to be lost, and we now want to scale up so that we have tested all the systems. We know how it can be regenerated. So we now want to support the farmers and other stakeholders to see how best they can expand the distribution and occurrence of this plant so that it is not lost to humanity.
The project lifeline is 3 years, but then you know that it takes more than 3 years for the plant to produce. And the end result for us to see that these seedlings that we have planted have actually matured to become trees. You know, there's a difference between tree planting and tree growing. We want the trees to actually grow and reproduce. And at this level, it needs to be monitored. And it's very sad if you plant something and you don't monitor and see that at the end it has produced the result that you are expecting. So we believe that if this project is further sponsored or more grant is obtained, we'll be able to monitor the seeds and the seedlings, and then for them to become mature, where we see that actually they have reproduced, and we've tested the seed that are produced from these new trees to ensure that their genetic makeup is different from the original population. And then I'm sure by then also the communities that are around, if we use the Kramer approach, we'll be able to bring them together so that when we are leaving the site, they will manage it themselves. At this point, they are still young to be left into their own hands. We believe that we need to monitor them to a point where we can say, now these are trees that we can leave to the communities.
We appeal to the donors, the Franklina, to at least extend the project a little bit for us to continue, looking at after the species, the young ones to grow to a point where this period we need to be preparing the minds of the community and the Forestry Commission to take over.
There is the need to extend this project because most of the land area is degraded. With the exception of those little portions that we have the natural standstill existing, we need to cover other areas. So we need to extend it to cover the other areas. And with the support from this project, I think we'll be able to go a long way covering the other areas with this Talbotiella and maybe some associated species like the Kaya ivorensis and the Terminalia superbus.
This project has been a beneficial to Forestry Commission and to the communities in that the restoration they have restored about 35 hectares of Talbotiella gentii trees, and since the population has increased, the communities will also get some for their activities and to serve as tourist attraction and also increase the status of the species.
Currently, the project is the first and only project to propagate the highest number of Talbotiella gentii in the wild, which has established about 35,000 Talbotiella gentii seedlings under monitoring. About 35 hectares of forest land has been restored with Talbotiella gentii. So far, 15 farmers have successfully integrated Talbotiella gentii seedlings into their existing agroforestry farming schemes.
Talbotiella is only found in Ghana. Worldwide, you only get it in Ghana. And I am so glad and happy that we find it in our own area, that is Saposu Reserve. So it gives me that honor and pride that we have such species in our area.
And since I came here, the forest was here. But human activity has degraded it. By human beings, we need trees to grow. So I tried to help the Forestry Commission to restore the forestry.
I will advise my colleague farmers to take good care of this plant and resist cutting them down. They should assist so that we all try to make this Talbotiella gentii grow in our area, especially in Saposu, especially the degraded areas, so that we can recover our forest.
3 reports have been generated from the project, and a manuscript is being developed for peer-reviewed journal publication. World over, humanity continue to strive to exist side by side with other species, be they plants or animals. While forms of mutual existences could be very troubling, with serious devastating and unintended consequences, it is the responsibility of humanity to overcome the challenges resulting from climate change and anthropogenic activities in order to sustain all forms of Earth's threatened species.